Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Joe Taylor. This morning, another in the ongoing series of programs presented by the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning. The program, through the Northwest Institute of Research, oversees a grant from the Office of Child Development and Early Learning at the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and the Department of Education. The goal of the program is to improve the outcomes for young children as they prepare for school. John Posa from the Pennsylvania Key is the host of the program and is with us throughout the series. And John, I just answered the phone and we have someone on the line from Altoona, PA.
That's right. Good morning, Joe. We want to welcome Amber Kramer from Altoona. And this is the third in our series of interviews we've done on the topic of early intervention. Amber is service coordinator with the Altoona Area School District, where she assists with the transition of children into the district's Learning Express preschool and is a classroom coach for positive behavior intervention support. She previously taught early intervention preschool for 10 years. Welcome to the program, Amber.
Thank you.
One of the things I kind of wanted to just right off the top to ask you is, for those of our listeners who may not be really familiar with the early intervention system, tell us a little bit about your job and what you do with the district.
Okay, my job is to assist with the transition for kids that receive early intervention support, which means any child that is ages 3 to 5 that might have some sort of developmental delay, which would include maybe speech and language. It could just be a general delay, which we assess kids on adaptive domains, which is like their self-care, personal, social, communication, their motor skills, and their cognitive skills. So if they're showing a greater than 25% delay, then they're eligible for special instruction. We also offer occupational therapy, physical therapy, vision, hearing services in our program. So we offer a classroom. So we have classrooms that come 2 days a week, some come 3 days a week, and then some kids come 5 days a week based on their age. And then we also service kids itinerantly. So if they're already in a preschool program, we offer special instruction services for the kids that are in a Head Start or maybe a private preschool. And even sometimes we do home-based services, and then some people come in for specific appointments. So my job is, as they turn 3, if they already have an IEP through the Early Intervention Burst to 3 program, I assist with the transition process into our preschool program. So I complete the evaluation, I meet with the families, we talk about what the transition process is going to look like and what their options are. So I tell them those options. If they're already in a preschool program, we can provide the services to them there, whether they want to come to a classroom, and then I assist with setting up the evaluation to determine if they're still eligible for services. And if they are, then we provide those services to them.
That's really great. And what's so really somewhat unique in that, you are employed by the school district, and obviously I know the school district has Learning Express, which is a preschool within the school district, but those services that you provide are not just for the kiddos that are in the school district's preschool, but also, as you mentioned, Head Start and other kiddos who need early intervention services, which is great, because after all, these are the kiddos that are going to be coming to school at Altoona. And whether they're enrolled in the preschool there or not, they're going to have an impact once they are of school age.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, when you obviously be taught for 10 years early intervention. Was that also at Altoona, or were you somewhere else?
Well, when I first graduated, I didn't want to sub, so I moved to Maryland, and I taught just kindergarten for a year, regular ed kindergarten classroom. When I moved home, I got hired part-time my first year for Altoona. And my first year, I just worked as an itinerant teacher, so I provided all the itinerant services. So I did the evaluations and provided the services for them in Head Starts and private preschools. Then they opened some classrooms. We had a small building, and we only had 4 classrooms there at the time. And then we had 2 itinerant teachers. And we opened up some classrooms that were in some elementaries. So at that point in time, I was offered a classroom at Wright Elementary, which is an elementary in Altoona. Right. And so I worked part-time in a classroom there for a year, and then then they offered me a contract. So at the year after that, in 2008, I got a contracted position with the district and was full-time with benefits and everything, but I still was doing the same position. So, I've been working in an early intervention classroom since then until this past year when I was asked to take the service coordinator position.
Okay. Now, just for our listeners who may not know the term, itinerant teacher, could you kind of explain what that means?
Yes. So an itinerant teacher is the person that goes into the private preschools or the Head Start classrooms or wherever the child may be, and then provides that individualized instruction for the kids that are maybe showing that developmental delay. So after we write an IEP, the plan for each child, they have goals that we're working towards based on where they're showing a need. And so as an itinerant teacher, it was my job to go in and work towards those goals, maybe provide some support to the classroom teacher as well, and give them some tips and ideas on how they can help that child be successful in the classroom.
And just for folks who may not be familiar with the acronym IEP, that stands for Individualized Education Plan, and it's generally a plan that's used for children that need special services or an individualized educational plan because they have a delay of some sort.
I was wondering if you could expand on, for the benefit of parents and kids, what we talked about, what John talked about, the fact that you are there in the Altoona district. What is the advantage to the kids, to their parents, to having you as being part of the Altoona system, as opposed to it being your functions being contracted out to an IU? So how does it advantage the kids you deal with and the parents of the kids that you deal with?
Well, I think it makes a great transition as far as Altoona School District is a large district, so we service currently probably 300 children ages 3 to 5 in Altoona. So, for the families, we're aligning, and actually we went to the P3 Governors Institute this year, which is, we're working towards aligning that curriculum from birth through third grade. And so what's really nice is since we're part of the district, we really are aligned with the kindergarten teachers, and so the preschool to the kindergarten transition process is really nice, as well as the transition from at age 3 in our program. So all that tying together really nice, making a smooth transition. The parents then, we have good relationships with everybody in the school district. At one point, we were spread out throughout a couple different elementaries. We are now located all in one building. Which pros and cons too. It was good that we were in the buildings because we could align a little bit better with what the principals and what the kindergartens were doing, but we're still part of the district, so we still participate in district in-services, curriculum. We're sharing ideas, and currently this year, all of our teachers are going into the kindergarten classrooms and observing the kindergarten teachers so they can see what the kindergarten teachers are doing. And then in the spring, the kindergarten teachers are having an opportunity to come into our classrooms and see some of the kids that are coming to them and maybe have some feedback and some tips about hey, this works well for this kid, and maybe this kid might need a little bit extra support in this way, and this is how I help, just to give them some general ideas of what's coming to them. So I think the consistency as far as expectations, curriculum, and all of that is definitely a benefit.
That is fantastic. And of course, you hear this a lot, those working in early learning, about the opportunity for teachers, both the kindergarten teachers and preschool, to basically spend that time in each other's classroom to get to know that child better, because after all, especially for the preschooler coming into kindergarten, those are the kids that kindergarten teacher is going to have to get to know. And the more that they know about that child, the better. So that is terrific. And it's not easily done in a lot of districts because of time and classroom schedules and so forth. So, kudos to Altoona for being able to do that. Amber, I wanted to ask you, because, part of your work is you're a classroom coach, as I mentioned in your introduction, for positive behavior intervention support. We had Susan Zeiders on last week, and she kind of oversees that program. And I wanted to ask you, tell us a little bit also about, we call it PBIS for short, but tell us a little bit about that protocol and how that's used in Altoona.
Okay, well, we started PBIS in Altoona in 2010, and when we started that, we were working with another preschool program. It was a private preschool in the area, and it was one that we collaborated with, and we had, at that point, we had some outlining classes to just use our home-based building, and then once we felt like we had a good concrete system in place there, we then expanded. So we started to incorporate our outlining programs, and then eventually in 2014 is the year that we all moved into one building, which really helped for the consistent expectations. And for our program, it's important, well, for all programs, it's important to have consistent expectations. But for our program, our roles are be safe, be kind, and be responsible. So the kids can earn Bs, and they have a beehive. Everybody has their own beehive,
Right.
and they're able to earn Bs for being safe, kind, and responsible throughout the day. So as they fill their beehive, then they can earn a reward. And so we have individual rewards, and then they have classroom rewards, and then we work towards program rewards. And as a coach, when I started, I wasn't a coach at the first year. When I started, I had a classroom, so I still taught, and then I had some sessions off where I got to work as a coach. There was myself and another teacher. And so it was sort of nice because when we would go to all these PBIS trainings, they would say, that's really great because you're living it and, you know, helping other teachers be successful. So we, you know, it was nice because we were teaching in our rooms, and then we helped each other too. The coach and I, like, she'd come in my room and she'd say, hey, I see this, and vice versa, you know. So
Right.
it was nice that we had the opportunity to do that. So now this year, I actually, being a service coordinator, I'm out of the classroom, so I actually have more time to be able to push in, which is nice. And so it's nice to go in to give those teachers the support.
Can I ask, what does PBIS stand for?
Positive. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Amber, but it's positive behavior intervention support, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's a protocol. It's you know, as I said, it's been a system that's used in classrooms for some time now. But the other nice thing about it is there's a whole network of supports and technical assistance around PBIS that tracks, and actually there's data that basically goes into the system, and there's a database, and it's all research driven. But tell us a little bit, if you can sort of set an example of a typical thing, for instance, that you know, I know you mentioned about the bees, of course, and filling the beehives, but as an overall thing, tell us about what the objective is behind PBIS.
Well, I mean, the goal is we want children to be successful and to have a positive outlook. So instead of constantly being negative and telling kids what they're doing wrong, we want to really emphasize when they're doing what's right. So, you know, we made a matrix and we created how kids to be safe, kind, and responsible through all aspects of our preschool day. So, and then we call it reframing, and it's interesting to do, to reframe your way of thinking instead of saying no running, don't run, use your walking feet. So those types of reframing your way of thinking to say things in a positive manner, because a lot of times when kids are that age, 3 to 5, they hear the last word. So you say don't run, they hear run. You know,
right,
so
exactly.
It's like trying to reframe your way of teaching kids what's expected, and then, you know, they want attention. So a lot of times kids misbehave because, one, they want to gain attention, or two, they want to avoid the task. So, you know, you want to give them that positive attention when they're doing what they're supposed to do, and that way they're like, oh, wait, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So we, you know, that's the main goal is to have them, and then eventually intrinsically have them want to do it. So some people say, oh no, you're like giving them rewards, you know, you're bribing them. Well, it's not a bribe. You know, we always tell everybody whenever we're doing our trainings that, would you go to work if you didn't get paid? No, that's the incentive, you know. So the point is to shape them that, you know, here I might praise you and give you rewards, but then I'm going to back off, because you should want them intrinsically, have that motivation to want to do those things on your own without that incentive. And some kids need more positive reinforcement than others. And, you know, I mean, and if you look at specific kids too, there's some of those kids that have really low morale, have maybe not so great of a home life.
Right.
Those are the kids that need more positive reinforcement than the ones maybe that, that come from a better home life.
You just touched on something that I always wonder about, and I think the concept is just beautiful, and I know I try to do that. We try to do that with our daughters, and I think responsible parents try to too. You can do it in a preschool or a school situation, but do you try to work at all with the parents to have them replicate this way of dealing with their kids at home?
Oh, absolutely. We provide a lot of parent training. We send home surveys asking them specifically where their concerns were, and then we tally up their results. We see where they're showing the most need, whether it be following directions, impulsive behaviors, and then we've outlined our parent training based on what parents are requesting they need assistance with. We have also, I was talked about the matrix that we made for school, how they can be safe, kind, and responsible in all aspects of a preschool day, but we also created one for parents to use at home. So how can they be safe when they are in a restaurant, when they are getting ready for bedtime? We thought of different times of the day that might be a problematic time for parents, and then we created this matrix for them to utilize. And then our training, we provided them with beehives and bees. We said if they decorated the beehives, we would laminate them, we put Velcro on them, we prepare them all for parents to use so they can use them at the home and use that same terminology so there would be a consistent connection between home and school.
Yeah, and we emphasize it all the time with guests on our program. Probably every program we do, there's a component where we address family engagement. So, the parents' involvement in their child's education, both prior to school and even when they start school, is so vital. And so we're always looking in the early education field of ways and programs on engaging parents. So yeah, big part of any program within early learning. But I also wanted to ask you, Amber, and you may want to emphasize this, is that regarding positive behavior intervention support, just kind of note that this is a protocol that's used for all children, correct? It's not just for children that are having delays.
Oh, no, absolutely not. We have regular ed kids in our classrooms as well. And yes, we use it on all children. And yes, it's definitely beneficial for all children to use. It's positive, and it's good
right.
for your staff.
Absolutely.
We also build staff morale using PBIS, and that's part of our committee when we talk about things like how can we build staff morale, what can we do, and it's interesting that if you have an adult that has low morale, that they need a lot more positive reinforcement to build up their self-esteem than a kid that has low morale.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you're in the position to comment on this, but in terms of the data that's being collected from all those who are classrooms that are using PBIS, so is this information then fed to a database? Of course, it's all obviously no children's names are used or anything. It's all confidential. But does this by feeding this data into this system, is this a way also of tracking progress, so that knowing in what areas maybe are going well and which areas maybe there may be some refocus on improvement?
Yes, absolutely. We have something that's called Behavior Incident Report.
Right.
We call them BIRs for short. But we fill those out anytime a student has maybe it could be biting, hitting, spitting, eloping, any sorts of behaviors. So we can track. And so then what it is, it breaks it down. It's a checklist, and it looks at like what happened right before that behavior. So what caused that behavior to happen, and what did the kid do after that, and how did the teacher react to it. And so then once we enter all of those into our system, it'll make you a chart so you can sort of see, wow, this kid is always misbehaving during circle time. So maybe there's something going on during circle time that kid doesn't like. So you're able to really focus in and see where the problem is, and then try to focus on, well, maybe we need to change what we're doing. Obviously it's not working. If it's always happening during this time, something needs to change. So that's nice. But we can also look at maybe we need some more instruction on problem solving. These kids don't know how to problem solve. They don't know how to cope with, so we can really look at where our curriculum might be not, as good as it should be, and where our teachers may need some more training.
Right. Exactly. One of the things that so often happens, and the difference between kids in preschool and then when they go to kindergarten, there's a lot of times there's a drop off in the social emotional component, and the loss of so-called playtime. Okay, which sometimes can be a factor. Can you comment a little bit about how teachers in the kindergarten classroom have addressed that issue to maybe building in more playtime as an instructional component as part of the curriculum?
I think, yeah, that's definitely a controversial topic all around.
I know.
Most of our preschool classrooms are only half day. We have one this year that we piloted that's a full day preschool program. So in 2.5 hours, we're trying to get a lot of information out. And with the kindergarten expectations increasing, I know that in our district, playtime is almost non-existent.
Right.
So, I mean, in our preschool classrooms, we're struggling a little bit too, trying to think, we have to teach reading, you have to teach math, you have to teach social, you have to teach this, in 2.5 hours comes and goes before you know it.
Right.
So I do know that, that's something we're working towards. We're trying to incorporate more academic type things into a play-based instruction, but also aligning with the curriculum that the kindergarten's teaching. So, I mean, that's something that we're in the process of working on ourselves as a curriculum. We're working on curriculum mapping. I actually have a meeting coming up soon that we're going to work on that, try to make our alignment better, and then work with it. Like, we have a 3-year-old class, a 4-year-old class, and then like the 5-year-old class. So we're trying to align the three of them. So that's something that we're in the process of doing. But I definitely think, play is important. The socialization. I talked to one of the teachers I was coaching, and I said to her, because she's trying to teach all the curriculum, and I said they have to have the socialization and everything before they can grasp a lot of those cognitive concepts. You have to teach them how to cope, how to deal with emotions, how to express themselves, how to get along. Some of those things are very critical, and now is the time. Preschool, that's the time we need to instill that socialization.
Absolutely, and that's the challenge. That's the challenge that kindergarten teachers face is finding a way to incorporate that the play aspect into the academic curriculum, and sometimes almost disguising it. Making it seem like it's play when it's actually really part of the curriculum. I wanted to ask you one last question, and hopefully we only have maybe about a minute left, but can you share a success story, just some, even if it's maybe just this year, of a child that you've worked with, and share some of the results?
Okay, we've had one child that came in, and he was grounding and refusing to comply for like 30 minutes, sometimes up to 2 hours. And we had a day this past week where he has been successful and did not ground one time the entire day. So just that, the support as far as like our SEAs, we have special education aides that are in there working with the children, and we have less time for training of our staff. Years prior, we were able to train everybody. We trained van drivers. We've trained all of the support staff. So as far as like getting everybody on the same page as we continue to grow, it's difficult. However, as putting in a staff member to work with this kid that has been trained in the PBIS, so it's a significant improvement.
That's fantastic. That's Amber. Thank you so much. For our time is up. I know we can go on for another 25 minutes, but I thank you so much. It was very informative, and hope to have you back again.
All right. Thank you.
And that's our program for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks at this same time. In the meantime, you can go online to learn more at papromiseforchildren.com. For John Posa and the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning, I'm Joe Taylor. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.